here we are. I am going to give you my everything that I read in June during Pride Month, and we'll get to see how it differs. Oh my gosh, from what I had hoped to read in June versus what actually got read. So if you haven't seen that video, you can watch that one here somewhere on my channel. So. Salutations, darlings. I'm Sweetling, and this is I am proud to say, after doing this since January, I finally read more than 2 books. I read a whopping 8 books this June. And apparently it was, 721 pages and 50 hours worth of books. It took me an average of 13 days to complete them. My the mood that most of my books had were tense. And emotional. 5 of them were tense and 4 of them were emotional. Most, 75%, were medium pace and 25% were fast pace. I had a range of half of them were under 300 and half of them were 300 to 500 pages. For audiobook length, they were all within 8 to 15 hours. And I read 1 nonfiction book. Usually, I read no nonfiction books. But this past month, I happened to read 1 nonfiction book. My highest genre was fantasy. My second highest genre was LGBTQIA+, and that was 5 fantasy for LGBTQ. And it looks like I did a mix of digital, print, and audio. I did about 50% audio, 38% print, and 13% digital. And those are just the stats from Storygraph. I'm so happy that I can actually tell you what the stats were this time, instead of just being like, I only read these 2 books. So, I think we should get into them. Let's see here. Starting with what I first finished at the start of June was Blood Moon by Britney S. Lewis. It came out in 2025. I listened to the audio for this book, and it had about 378 pages. I gave this book a 3.75 rating, because you can do quarter ratings on Storygraph. And I finished it on June 2nd. I enjoyed it, for the most part. There were minor things that I had little pet peeves about, but for the most part, I really liked this one. It was a good read, and I'm excited to see the sequel. I'm excited to see where she takes it from here. It gave very much Twilight, and if you watched the Vampire Diaries, it's supposed to give Vampire Diaries too. I don't think there's anything that I want to talk about that in terms as a spoiler. But I could definitely tell the influence was like Twilight in the sense of writing and Vampire Diaries, as little as I know about Vampire Diaries in the sense of like the story and the plot line. I was taken by surprise by some of the twists and turns, but I want to say about like halfway through the book, I was like, oh, okay, this is what's going to happen. And some of it I was right, some of it I was wrong. So it's always nice to not, like, you know, read a predictable book. If you are looking for black vampires, black werewolves, this is definitely a book that you're going to want to read. It's why I read it, just because the main cast is black, and the author was very adamant about being like, I wanted justice for Bonnie from Vampire Diaries, and I was like, I vaguely know who these people are, so let's take a gander. But like, I enjoyed it. It was good. It had minor things that I didn't like. One thing I can for sure say that I didn't like was the fact that the main character uses her parents' first names. And I'm just like, did you grow up, like, what black household did you grow up in where you calling your parents by their first name? That's how you get popped in the head. That's how you get looked at crazy, because you calling your mom and dad by their first name. So that was one that I was like, interesting, okay. Aside from that, I was just here for the story. I was here for the ride, here for the story, here for black vampires, black werewolves, and I was like, yeah, let's get into it. So if you're looking for black werewolves, black vampires, definitely try this one out. Continuing the vampire theme, there was a lot of vampires during this month. I got really into the Summerween vibes. Dead and Breakfast by Hillis and Rosiee Thor. It came out in 2025. This one was also an audio. I don't have the pages, but I have that it was about 9 hours and 45 minutes. I rated this 4 stars. I enjoyed this. It's very cute. It's this vampire couple, this gay vampire couple, running an inn in this like really small Oregon town, and they get framed for murder. Like, they get framed for murder, and they're like, whoa, we have to solve this because the people of this town already don't like us, and we must rectify that. And that's what happens. It's a silly, goofy little book. I don't know what else to say. Like, I finished it on June 3rd. I think, when did I start it? Because it didn't take me very long to finish this one. Let's see, are you going to tell me? Yeah, I started it June 2nd. I finished it June 3rd. It did not take me long to finish that. It was cute. There's a sequel coming out in a few months. I want to say September, I think, or July of this. It's sometime between this month and September is when the sequel is supposed to come out. I'll read it just to read it. I probably won't like it as much as I liked the first one. But yeah. So, cute, mystery, murder solving. It was a gratin. Can't complain. Next is Sky Full of Elephants by Cebo Campbell. This one I had started maybe about 2 months ago, and I finally finished it. I finished it on June 5th. I gave it a 4.2 2.5-star rating. It was written in 2024. And it had about 304 pages. This one took me a minute to get through, obviously. But like I said, I enjoyed it a lot. Basically, what happens is all the white people disappear. Like, just one day, they just up and disappear. Walked into the closest body of water and never returned. I started this out. Actually, I'm a liar. I started this, like, I think in February or March. So 3-4 months. It was a lot to get through. It was a very philosophical book, even though it's like speculative fiction and has magical realism. It's a very like philosophically deep book. And you just take a chance on it. At this point, just take a chance on it. It's a wild ride. It's a bit tough to get through. The ending is a bit, not a bit, it's a lot, it's heavily philosophical, but considering the circumstances of how the book starts, the ending kind of just makes sense. It's not really supposed to be like a, this is how we fix this issue. It's kind of just, it is what it is, and this is how we get by. Take a chance on it. That's all I gotta say. Leaning back into my vampire theme, vampires and gay, that was supposed to be the theme. We were supposed to be very queer during this Pride Month, and I feel like I accomplished that for the most part, but it was also very vampire-esque. The Summerween vibes go hard. A Tempest of Tea by Faizal. No, that's incorrect. Faizal. I may be saying her name wrong. It was released in 2024. I listened to the audio, and it was about 11 hours and 1 minute. Very specific. I finished it June 7th, and I gave it a 4-star rating. I started this one because it was recommended to me, I think, in 2024 by my sister. She recommended it to me when it came out. Didn't get a chance to read it, and kind of forgot about it until recently. I don't know if she was thinking of a different book when she told me that. She was like, yeah, read it, it's queer. But that's the reason why it was on the list. I was like, it's vampires and it's queer? I'm gonna read it. A Tempest of Tea, I love this book. I loved this book, which makes what I have to say after this so much harder, because this was such an engaging world. The main characters were sharp and witty, and they're pulling off a heist, and I love a good heist. I love a good heist. We had a range of characters. There was surprises, things that you expect, things that you didn't expect, people who were vampires that you were like, wait, they're a vampire? I had so much fun with this one. And so it's a duology. And of course, after I finished this one, I went to go listen to the sequel, A Steeping of Blood, to be disappointed. Utterly disappointed. And it makes me want to, like, not love the first one as much as I love the first one. I don't know what to say. A Steeping of Blood came out the year after, the subsequent year, 2025. This one was 14 hours and 25 minutes. I also listened to the audio of this one. I gave it a 2.75 rating. I was not happy with how this one ended. Honestly, I was not happy. I'm so not happy that I am considering to do like a spoiler version rant review of this duology, because that's how unhappy the second book made me. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it's just particular writing choices of basically what happens after the first one. We're right after the first one, we get right into the second one. Like, maybe a week has passed in time, and things had to change because they didn't succeed in their initial mission. And so they're having to pivot. We're having to renegotiate relationships and, pick up communicating properly because we miscommunicated all throughout the first one, and it had so much potential, but it completely let me down completely. Ugh. And that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it. But please do let me know if you are interested in hearing a rant, a rave, a review for this duology, and why I had such high hopes to be completely let down with the second book. The next thing I read was Genderqueer, a memoir by Maia Kobabe. I'm not sure how to say their last name. But this was released in 2019. I read it digitally, and it had 240 pages. I finished it June 15th. It maybe took me like 2 days, a day and a half. I gave it a 3.25 star rating. 3.25. I don't know why I say 3 point, like, and then the individual. I'm sorry. I don't know if that throws you off. It's too late. I've been doing it this whole video. This one I read. This is the nonfiction one. This one I read because it is one that pops up on all the lists of like queer books you should read. It's part of the nonfiction side of the like, these are queer books that you should read. So I read it. And I mean, like, in terms of a memoir, it was nice because it was a graphic novel memoir, because they themselves are an artist. But at this point, there wasn't too much to take away from it. Maybe in 2019, there was a lot more to take away from it, because that's truly when, the woke era was. Well, I mean, really, it started in 2015. The Tyler Oakley, Troye Sivan, YouTube You had to be there. Anyway, so I read it for the sake of, like, to say I read it and to check it off on the boxes of, like, you know, the most, like, these are the ones you should read, of queer nonfiction books that they say, like, you know, if you want to get a queer perspective or recognition, to feel similar, to, you know, feel validated. But at this point, there wasn't too much for validation for me. It was just kind of like, this is somebody else's queer experience. I wasn't too, like, moved or irritated. You know, like, just was a read. It was another read. But yeah. I don't know, I think I have gotten so much more from, like, fiction books that are specifically made to talk about queer experiences. Like, for me, if I was to be like, you want a complex gender, sexuality type book, my first recommendation would be to give you Felix Ever After, or what is it? Or We Are Totally Normal. Those would be my two picks, to be like, look, you want a complex discussion about queer relationships and figuring out your own gender and your own identity. Those would be my first two picks, which happen to be fiction books. But that's because I mainly read fiction. I'm sure if you ask somebody who read nonfiction, they would probably give you, like, Detransition Baby or one of the other ones that I have heard of, but I cannot name off the top of my head. But yeah. Moving on, I also read When I Arrived at the Castle. This one was also released in 2019. This is a graphic novel. I read it digitally on Libby. I read all of these on Libby, unless I say otherwise. It was 72 pages. Or actually, I read this on Cloud Library, I want to say. I did not give this one a review. I was struggling to figure out what I wanted to review this one. And honestly, at this point, I don't know what I would give what review I would give it. But I finished it on June 19th, and I want to say I'm confused. I'm confuzzled with this one. I'm sure there was a lot being said as subtext for this one, but I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I may have not been trying to pay that much attention to the subtext. But the art is beautiful. Art is fabulous. Beautiful art. Love the art. The story, I'm confuzzled. And I think that's all I gotta say. And that's probably why I haven't given it a rating. I might have to put a new hold on it and read it again to see if I can figure out what the story is being told. Because as far as I understand, it is somebody hunting I can't tell if she's a vampire, if she's a witch, if she's an eldritch demon entity. I don't know. but it is a humanoid woman hunting this other woman in this castle, and there is some deep storyline going on here that I could not figure it out for you. Could not figure it out. And you know, sometimes you come across books like that where you're just like, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. And finally, last on my list for what I finished in June is Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright. This one was written in 2014. No, not 2014. 2024. Oh my gosh. I listened to the audio. It was 15 hours and 8 minutes. I didn't put my review down, but I want to give this one, I want to say it's between a 3.75 or 75 if you prefer, and 4 stars. I'm just not sure yet. I don't know. I think I'm slightly traumatized after A Tempest of Tea, because I was like, I loved the first one, and then the second one kind of made me regret loving the first one. Giving it such a great review. But because I am currently listening to the sequel, and there's another book coming out. I don't know when. But Mistress of Lies, this one is a reimagining of vampires, like the origin of vampires, I want to say, as far as I am understanding from how the first book and how far I have gotten into the second book. It feels like a reimagining of how vampires came to be, because they're in this society, they're in this kingdom that is an outlier of the rest of the nations around them, where they are what they call blood workers, and they deal heavily in the blood of people. Like, basically, they use their own blood to make wards and seals, and they use blood to do sorts of magic, like some type of magic, but used through blood. Blood magic of sorts. I knew there was a better way to say that, just it didn't come to me in the moment until after I said it. Blood magic of sorts. But they can also gain information and history from tasting the person's blood and create a short-lasting bond between somebody else by consuming that person's blood, literally just a drop. Anyway, main character, she's very ambitious. She has plans of changing the way that things are run in the kingdom. She is not too fond of who is in power, and her plans involve spicing things up, but they obviously do not go to plan. This one is a queer poly book, and it was a joy to read. I enjoyed it. There were parts where I was like, this could have been done differently, pertaining one of the 3 main characters, and in terms of what he can do. And I feel like the author has like kind of realized that and has changed gears a little bit with what happens at the end of the book and where we are in the second one at the moment. But so far, I really enjoyed the first one. I will say that. I really enjoyed the first one. I am 7 hours into the second one. It's gonna have to be a part of July's reviews. But it really cleansed my palate for me. Because I was so devastated about what happened with the steeping of blood that I was like, I'm devastated. I need a palate cleanser. This book was not even on my list. This book was originally not even on my list at all. And I was like, I need something to cleanse my palate, to get me to stop thinking about a steeping of blood, to, make me feel better, to cure the sour mood it put me in. Because I was supposed to, after I finished the Steeping of Blood, I was supposed to move on to Cosmic Love at the Multiverse Hair Salon. But, I couldn't get into it. I was too upset. And I was like, I need a book that's kind of similar with the vampire theme and the, ambitious female lead. And I remembered hearing about Mistress of Lies, and I was like, yeah, it's time to listen to that one, because I needed something better. So yeah, these are the 8 books that I read. Quite a few hits and misses here. I would say I feel like it was about half and half for me, which probably isn't correct, because only 3 of them, only 3 out of the 8 are kind of meh for me. But the rest were decent. The rest were great. I had fun. I wish I'd read more. Unfortunately, fanfic took up too much of my time, and streaming took up too much of my time. So I didn't get to read as many as I would have liked. But that's what July's for, So yeah. These are the 8 books that I read for June, for Pride Month. I had fun. I'm hoping to read more in July, like I said. I'm hoping to get to the few that I didn't get to read that were originally planned for June. So those will probably be a part of my July hopefuls, which... watch it next. Watch it after this. But yeah. I have a few projects coming up. A few project videos that I have in mind. A video essay. And I think I want to do a collab video between my 2 channels. My gaming channel and this one. That's Sweetling Screams, if you're interested. Which right now, it's mostly just the recordings of my streams on Twitch. And that is also at Sweetling Screams. So if you want to see me there, live, playing cozy games, and screaming about anything and everything, please support me there. And I would really appreciate it, and it would help me immensely. But as you can see, I have my books. I have acquired my books, and I have displayed them on this shelf here beautifully. So I think for a while this might be the new setup. I said that last time, but who knows? But yes, that'll be all for this video. Like I said, you should watch my July hopefuls. Watch them now. I don't know how I'm gonna plug it, but you know, I'll probably plug it at the end of the video. Put it like over here or something. So please watch that video or my past videos. If you didn't see my June hopefuls, you can watch that over here as well to see if you wanna, you know, to see the difference of what I plan to read versus what I actually read. I haven't done a video in a minute and I missed it. I missed this. But thank you so much for being here. If you were new, please like and subscribe so you can catch my following videos. And also watch my old videos. It'll help me immensely. If you're not, thank you for returning. Mom, I brought it back just for you because you were upset I didn't do it in my last video. In my last two videos. So I brought the mic back just for you. But yeah, that's all. Salutations, darlings. I will see you in the next one. Bye.